Me famble them on a good morning, on a good afternoon, on a good evening. Wherever on find on self na the world. I know say on a go surprise for see me today Saturday with salon issues, but on a guess waiting. This time I sit down Ayaso for a very, very special reason. As most of una know, from the 25th of this month to the 10th of December, we get one thing where we call 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, not to Usai no more we day, not to him it happen. It happen all over the world. So today, we can sit down also for a much small about how gender-based violence they take place, Usai we come out, way na Sierra Leone. And today, I sit down also with some big alagbadem. Some big alagbadem, we not sit down no more at the office, so we then inside this thing, so tiggy one, we then all they join on for make sure say, you know, humanity is respected in all shapes, color, and sizes, and that women become equal partner, and that they also are respected at the seats of the table. I not go waste much time. I go begin for introduce me guest then today, even as I go inside the program, sober one. So fasten your seat belt. It's gonna be uncomfortable at times, but it is a discussion that we must have and that must be heard. Without wasting much time, I go call on my first guest, make he introduce himself. Miss Beryl, introduce yourself to Famble. You microphone they off, so Famble not the hear you.
Thank you. Famble them una kushe, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever una they watch from all over the world. My name is Beryl Thomas, and I dare so for joining in this conversation. Me they work with I Am Every Woman movement, and you know we just there so for lend we voice to this ongoing conversation. That conversation we need forget, and by God in power we go make a difference.
By God in power we go make a difference. Now make a move on to a representative of lawyers. Then serve then at the host today. Miss Evotal Famble there do.
Me famble there una kusha una good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I like the way we host don't start this program say it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's a conversation that we're going to have because we need to have it and it needs to be heard. Mina Ebongolua Tengbe, Mina lawyer, and Mina member of lawyers. We're an all-female organization. We come together for say we na woman them, we na lawyers them, and we need for tina before we company woman them. I'm glad for doing this program today.
Indeed, we na lawyer them, we na woman them, and we need for team up for we comping woman them. And guess what? It's going to get even more deeper. We get with the man we sit down inside the man and the woman them right now. So we get with Mr. Daniel Keto. Mr. Daniel Keto say I do to Famble them.
Famble, una do. I greet una all around the world. Mina Daniel Keto, mina the executive director for Rainbow Initiative. Rainbow Initiative na national organization where they work with people them, where they don't abuse, where they don't violate their rights, where they don't always sometimes they overlook them in a community where as a result of what they go through when are survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. So we provide free medical treatment and we provide psychosocial support and we give them support so that they go heal with dignity, then go back to the community for able to work with them other members in the community.
We they give them support so that then go heal with dignity and go back na then society and feel part of the society. Now I they switch the gear and I they go to Madam Daika, tell Famble them Adu and tell them what in new organization they about.
Thank you so much, Matilda. Miss Salone people, send una warmest greetings from Freetown City. And I'm glad for being at this platform here so today for discuss the issues there. So we believe, say, inside the 16 days of activism, it's very important that we talk on them. Me, your name, Nadiaka Salina Koroma. Me, na the founder and executive director of Girls Empowered Sierra Leone. Girls Empowered, na a social enterprise where they advocate and campaign for the rights of women and girls. We specifically, they pick up issues then such as female genital mutilation, child marriage, and any other form of violence where women and girls begin to go through in a salon. We not only they stop there, we also they empower them through skills them where they need for be empowered leaders in our society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Fambulem, una not surprised as if we they go along, una notice say some other people then join we. Times we not can able control technology, times we can able manage them, but the conversation must go on. The UN system 16 day of activism, like I mentioned, started on the 25th of November under the global theme, aligning themselves with the UN political engagement strategy, Orange the World, Fund, Respond, Prevent, and Collect. The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is an annual international campaign that was started by activists in the inaugural Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991 and continues to be coordinated each year by the Center for Women's Global Leadership, a non-governmental organization based in Rochester University. The object was to create a communication strategy to increase awareness of violence against women and to emphasize that it is a violation of human rights. I repeat, emphasize that it is a violation of human rights. For this reason, a campaign runs annually from November 25th, International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December 10th, International Human Rights Day. Let me also note that during this 16-day period, on November 29th, it is marked as the International Women Human Rights Defenders Day. And on December 1, we have World AIDS Day. Now, an alarming increase in the rise of this pandemic, and when I say this pandemic, I am not talking about COVID, but I am talking about the abuse, violence perpetrated against women. There has been an alarming increase in the numbers of abuse against women. Without wasting much time, make a talk and they bring and come inside the Sierra Leone context, because we can talk about the world all we want, but we get for deal with we own closets them, we get for deal with we own backyard them. And today, now inside we backyard, now I sit down for talk about. Now we all sit down for talk about. So I want to go to Madam Ebon. In the context of lawyers, waiting una don't observe during this COVID period as to waiting they happen to women and girls them na Sierra Leone.
Okay, so when we did talk about the thing that way they happen to women and girl picking them, we can usually talk about them in the context of sexual and gender-based violence. When are the thing that way they can happen to women them because of we gender, because we now woman them make them thing they happen to it. Most of the time them then kind thing then they happen under we say sexual crimes and domestic violence, where na thing the way they affect we body them and reporting as women. So we say then sexual based crime them like rape, sexual harassment, sexual assault, and then we can get them domestic violence offense them where now inside we don't host them, now they come to we. Either now we fumble them, we man, we papa, we people all tap together, we neighbor them. Now inside we don't host, now that's how they come to we. Now what happen but during this COVID term? We find out say during this COVID term, but of the 10 they will not able waka waka. We even did lockdown for several times during this when the pandemic be just still on the rise. Imagine now you did on lockdown, you didn't host with the person when you abuser. Now we see you in a situation where you not woman, you man they beat you, and then una day together na the same host, una lockdown. Then they don't increase the potential or the amount of tenants if we go get access to you for expose you to that kind of violence. Mm-hmm. And then we observe, say, during this COVID term, but other issues then come up. People they lost their work, business be slow, really to a high level now of other tension and in a way they affect and trigger them behavior them and then perpetrators them. We find out that because Pekin and not being they go school, Pekin and they na host, you don't expose Pekin them, especially young girls, them when are them particularly vulnerable to then sexual as well as domestic violence incidents. Because when Pekin go school, we want assume say you don't take her away from them spaces that we're not to safe spaces. We find out that we Pekin and they na host, we increase the potential for them to be exposed to then kind of sexual and gender-based violence. This is not a country where don't go through a previous health crisis. We see during the Ebola term where Pekin and not be able to go school and then be in a host. And we even see say after that we see high number of what then we say pregnant schoolgirls. Now behind every pregnant schoolgirl there's a rapist, because small Pekin no get right for give you consent for say agree for you. And so anytime where you get that with small Pekin, now rape you don't rape her. And so we see them high search them. Now make during this term we see a lot of efforts they come in and say, well, a country we don't go through this before. We don't go through the kind of health crisis. We're exposed, we're vulnerable as in with young girls, our women, to then kind of risk them of gender and sexual based violence. That make it so important we then go on. We not remain quiet. We they ring on our people they yesterday. Check on your loved ones, make sure say they're safe, make sure say they're okay. But if you find yourself in that situation, come out and report say that these are they go through. Because even all across the world, we see a high surge in domestic violence. And so in Sierra Leone, it's really important, and I'm glad you will be getting conversation for say it's not okay. In no context, it's okay for let you man beat you. In no context, it's okay for let una go fall a small Pekin just because una didn't host nothing or they for do. So we find ourselves in that situation, especially in Sierra Leone, where you will say people and then a yard, una then a big compound. That proximity day for let increase that potential for let young girls them and be women and be exposed to such gender and based violence. So now that day we observe, but because this awareness don't they come, because people then only get announced say this is a problem, this is something we should do something about, we don't they get a lot of help and a lot of response from Boko other partners them, including UN Women and other organizations like this we Survivor Solidarity Fund, for help support lawyers for able help with for doing work. Because what we do as an organization is we did it for provide the support. Because sometimes if something happened to somebody now you go report in a police station, because we still try for change that culture, so we know they shame with victims or they blame with victims, we can realize that they don't handle things properly. So lawyers therefore give that next line of defense for say, okay, you don't only complain at police, come back to we our lawyers. We will make sure say the police them do the right thing in terms of investigating, in terms of taking the matter to court. We go there for support for make sure say victims then can court and testify, because at the end of the day, if somebody they go through abuse, they see say nothing, they come out there, it really not go report again. Yeah. Because most of them people that we get relationships with now, we family member, now we man, now we brother, we uncle, and then people then can get real economic impact in our life. But if you don't know, say this post here where I report them, the case not they left both, the case they go through state to the last minute this post here, go front judge, go through trial. And he face punishments for your actions, you they build confidence in that person there for able reports, you they build confidence in the next person, and most importantly, you they deter people that will go one commit then crime them for say consequence deal. So Mr. Flat take them next day what vex or what chakra no knock me with. So lawyers there for give that next line of support for make sure say we go through the due process, we make sure say we increase women access to justice, and make sure say this culture we kill them to the point where personally you would think and to them before you want perpetrate any form of sexual or gender-based violence.
Okay, thank you very much. That's quite a bit to unload and unpack there. Mr. Keto, I want go on to you. I know say earlier on this year, the Rainbow Center pull out a report which show an alarming number of rape cases then of abuse, sexual abuse within Sierra Leone. I want to know where do we stand in terms of your numbers, in terms of your observation, even the added stress of this lockdown, this pandemic, the emergency situation at Salone. Waiting una don't observe, waiting una don't see.
Well, from my own observation, because we deal with survivors of sexual and gender-based violence on the daily basis, both male and female, we then come now, we center them. So most of the cases that we receive now, the centers them so far, 90% of them now referral from family support units. For me, we examine and do findings, and then because through the police investigations, before they do the investigation, why did they do that? You don't find in the other investigation. We now Rainbow Center, we say they do investigation where the person comes, we report to the police, say they rape them. We can Rainbow Center, what thing we do medical examination, and then also provide counseling services. We gather the history, how it happened, and all of this information we can gather. We can able to make informed decisions and give the police back for me they able charge the matter to court or decide otherwise. But like for coming back to your question, we see say this is Salone sexual and gender-based violence now a serious problem. Now a serious problem from since after the war. We don't see, because we the record from 2003 with the record cases from 2003 to date, we see cases them every year that they increase on the daily basis. We see cases and they increase on the daily basis, especially we see a high number of cases coming out to report when the president declared the state of emergency. And then when the president declared the state of emergency on rape, we see a lot of, women them, we them in our communities, and then we them don't abuse, and they come out to report cases of sexual and gender-based violence. So with that, our centers were overwhelmed. And we say last year, 2019, we recorded and we supported over 4,000 cases now centers. We then been reports as a result of sexual and gender-based violence. Some of them are physical violence, and some of them are sexual and gender-based violence. Then why are they not the one that we then report? So from January to date, we don't almost, we don't see nearly to 3,000. From January to October this year, we don't see almost 3,000 cases of sexual and gender-based violence where we don't support now with 5 centers them across the center. So you can see, say, during this COVID time, like Madam Tengbe been they try for explain, you see, say, a lot of people them been they close with them perpetrators, we can say potential perpetrators, when a man or female, when they together, because then they close, and then because in the context of COVID, we be no say the man they go work, the papa they go work, the pikin then they go, but during this COVID there was lockdown. A lot of movements were restricted, and then people they quick. So a lot of things been the cause for male violence happen, especially for the weaker sex. We know the women, the way that they call, so I don't call them weaker sex emotionally, but in the context of physical ability for stand, for faith or whatsoever, we see a lot of violence happen at communities, them and at the household, them, and then most of the cases them will receive some of them. A lot of the women them know them perpetrators them. Not to say that straight on a school or where you go na where they work on a treats. What you will observe, some of them perpetrators them either it be uncle or either it be brother or either it be cousin or you or even the person where you left you begin with for me to take care of.
Yeah.
So we see say a lot of the cases them we then come reports now centers them now they and we then they can report. So as a country, I think say a lot of measures that be taken both by governments and civil society organizations for raise awareness on this issue. We see say a lot of effort has been made, and we don't see say that's for me as we work with them survivors them when they ask them what do you think say you report, they say I think say get justice, and I don't see a lot of people then they put effort for raise awareness on these issues, and then this thing did not happen, and not to today start. It don't start like this, but I not been get nobody where they talk for me, but now I don't get somebody where they talk for me. So some confidence enough to make I come forward for make a report those cases. So on the whole, we can conclude say a lot of people them don't get confidence for reports. Them say when that reports, I think say something will be done, because we see say the Sexual Offences Act Amendment Act don't come to pass from 2019, and then people then say okay, now once you don't miss it, if I not left for nothing, because I know say there is somebody there that will be listening to me, and there is somebody station, there is government, there is a police, there is somebody we know the joke. So we know say across the country, the First Lady, we don't go with hands off our guests. In fact, when we do a kind of research, we've been asked communities who say we work, because we want to know the real why the cases them they increase, why the reported cases them they increase in the community, and then we they go and ask even ask why you think say, and then the answers them we'll get from the communities them most of them, they will say 70 to 80% tell we say from all the people that will ask, then tell we say the cases not to say that they increase, but the reports cases then they increase, because we think say the emphasis be laid on this so much, and the First Lady, because then they call something picking them Fatima Bio in picking them. We see say especially the one that they below 18 years. Then they call them, say, now Fatima, you ain't picking them. Anybody will touch them. Even the chief them, they freed them cases them right now for talk about them. But in the past, people will sit down in the community and they talk on the case, and then they deal with harm in the community, and then take decision on behalf of the Pekin. In fact, the Pekin, even if he not been want justice, then they take decision, and then the mama nine they take decision. But now, because you see say there is that high level of political will, and then people them say, even if you don't want people that even afraid, because I don't want to sit on this, because I don't want governments as a result of the law and as a result of the high level of commitment from the governments.
Interesting. Daika, I want to ask you a question. 3,000 plus sexual and gender-based violence reported from January to now, and you self now one way they deal with women and girl picking them. Within na your observation in your field, I mean, taking into consideration that yes, we did witness quite a surge, quite a high alarming rate of sexual and gender-based violence, to the point where you know, someone like me at some point was like, is this a retaliation? Is this a pushback? Is this a fight against the first lady in Get Our Hands Off or Get Your Hands Off Our Girls? Because at one point, the rate at which the cases them when they occur, it was frightening. It was frightening. I could say no woman, for me, in my opinion, no woman was safe in Sierra Leone. No girl child was safe in Sierra Leone. And to a greater extent, no young boy was safe in Sierra Leone. What are your experience thus far?
So I believe, say, if we dey look back on the work where activists them, organizations them, don't they do for the past couple of decades around the issue, I believe, say, it's because of we dey break the silence. We speak about these issues. Now make we go even able forget that kind scenario where mama go come on and say, I want justice for me pikin with a rape. Or you go see pikin go come on and say, I want justice for myself because I was sexually penetrated on. So same way, so also with the Hands Off Our Girls campaign, where we First Lady start. I think for me, that campaign was the form of awareness we needed. Because what I mean form of awareness, like people need for understanding where it can pa justice or where it can pa woman and girl picking them with body. Enough for be no negotiation. So you even they find out why is it that communities they able to tag young girls them as the First Lady in picking them, because the approach where we First Lady used was the kind of approach where, you know, like it's period abuse against women and girls is not allowed. Before that, yes, we had, you know, organizations that will be they talk on that. But when we look at the context in Sierra Leone, we understand very clearly that everything, well, not everything, most things are politicized. So if you have certain social issues, you know, used to the political spaces, I believe, say, one way or the other, most times we usually they get a positive change and a sustainable one also. You look at the state of emergency where was declared also by the president. Although yes, a state of emergency, when people look at it, then they feel say yes, God begin to work on our streets and people they grab them and rape them. But when you look deep down into the houses, into our homes, waiting they happen, it actually get worse than that. You know, if we have, you look at the case of Khadija Sakor, there are so many Khadija Sakors them around us. Even right now, this very moment where I talk to you, there is a girl out here in Sierra Leone where, you know, they face rape from somebody where it trust or somebody where in a family member, you know, and things like that. This is why, for me, in my own capacity, in a country like Sierra Leone, when after the Ebola, I think Sierra Leone, what we're living right now is, it's like we're going through the same cycle again. During the Ebola, we had over 14,000 girls got pregnant. And what we had back then was the past government who, for them, it was much more easier to ban these girls from going to school. Rather than looking into waiting drive this kind menace in our county, in our society.
Right.
And of course, with the voices that we have, the strong voices them in Sierra Leone, you see how organizations and take government to court. And this year, so grateful to government for when they finally lift that ban. What we're trying to say is we are not encouraging girls to get pregnant and go to school.
Right.
But what do they try for? May we stop for the hypocrites to be safe, yeah? Boys and girls, they get for who get sex, go up canton. You turn at any kind way. From our experience, from the work that we do, working with grassroots, You understand that during the Ebola, when you had over 14,000 girls got pregnant, right now COVID was still living COVID, and we not even get results that we not even get reports that we don't come out specifically from Sierra Leone. But we can go and look at Care International, which states that over 30% of girls in Sierra Leone aged 15 to 19 either be done born before or get pregnant. So for us, what we realized is we need to work with what we have in our county. So we focus more on creating a safe space. A safe space is so important, Matilda, because like you say, when you look inside Salone in the most deprived communities, then picking there, so maybe one going home, they host like 15 family members then, or 15 watermans, a very small space. So we're creating a space for them where at least they can come early morning, and not only for Sidon, but also read books, like engage them in vocational skills. Because we realize that when you equip girls with them kind of skills, then they're able to use them as economical value in the future. So we try for engage them that way. They try for see how we can respond, although we cannot fund, but we can respond and prevent and eventually collect our data.
Right.
So it's important, like whichever campaign we get, as long as, it speaks up for women and girls, it speaks up for the most vulnerable people, then definitely it's important in Sierra Leone.
It is important in Sierra Leone. So, Daika don't give me a very important data, okay? So 14,000 plus girls during the Ebola period were pregnant. And we also know saying that around that period, the girls were banned from going to school. And if you all can recall, when the then First Lady come out and say, mama and papa business is an adult business, it's a marital business. The girls have no business, taking on adulthood and involving themselves into sexual, sexual, experiments or whatever it is. Unabinosti say, I was enraged. I was very enraged, and I came at her hard, without fear, without malice, but speaking the truth. And that was the same way I was enraged one afternoon in June, when my phone started going boom, 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 boom. I'm seeing this image, but nobody was telling me what was going on. And so I waited a few minutes, and then someone called me and said, Matilda, you don't see that Pekin? I say, who's Pekin? They say one Pekin in name Khadija. I say, describe for me. I say, because somebody, then they send me image, but they tell me what happened. I say, hey, Matilda. I say, Salone don't bad off. I say, what happened? And send me the image, then they send me the background story. And you all will remember on that Saturday afternoon, I did not hold any bar. I did not look at the age. I did not look at politics. I did not I not being the care who was watching, who was listening. I spoke my truth and I spoke my mind, and I was so enraged to see the image of little Khadija at 5-year-old being molested severally. Not only being molested, but also being abused sexually and physically, because the evidence don't lie. I don't care if it didn't court, I don't care waiting in they say, I saw those pictures and the evidence don't lie. Yes, we have to go through the law system. Yes, we have to go, but at the end of the day, we cannot sit down. And yes, on that very day, I made a comparison between, I called on the now First Lady and I challenged her vigorously. I said, you cannot sit. If you say, get your hands off our girls, I need to see results, and I need to see them now. I need to see that you are moving the needle, and the needle have moved. I made a comparison between the little Khadija and her daughter, and people were like, no, Matilda, you went too far. I'm like, no, I didn't go too far. Sometimes you have to make things real. and the real you make them, then people are situated and they get acting. And 2 hours later, whatever I was saying reached her and she acted. And people call me and say, hey, you don't talk or you're not in the talk, but the moment you talk, you don't talk. I'm like, I don't want talk. I need actions.
That's right.
But then little did people know, and I said it then, I'm like, Una, wait, just because you don't talk no mean for say anything therefore happen right now. If we do not come collectively as a society, if we do not stand as a uniting first, trust me, another 6 months down the road, we'll still be talking about this. And I am saddened to say, even as I sit here today, we are still talking about Khadijas and the many Khadijas within our society whose name have never been called, whose name have never been mentioned, who did not have the international spotlight as Khadija did. But because of Khadija, people have noticed. Because of Khadija, people are speaking out. And some actions have been taken, and we cannot deny that. I will go to Beryl. Beryl, I want to make you talk about the theme today. Orange the world, fund, respond, prevent, and collect. Within your young practice, within your young engagement, what in that they actually mean for Sierra Leone and the fight against gender-based violence and the fight to equality and the fight for women to sit in at the decision-making table?
Thank you very much. We think today talks about, fund, collect, respond, prevent, etc. In the context of Sierra Leone, we need for be out there. They teach we women them. They teach this. Although it's mainly about women, we also need for teach the men them as well. How for respect the women them, the children them, for sure and say, even though picking na picking, it may not get you may feel to say they not get voice, but then gets them voice. Then then can give, although they you may say they agree for do it thing you want for let them do, that's not mean to say you need for take advantage of them. They need for no say people then get their right. You need for respect them. You need for protect the women. You need for protect the children. And it's important that we educate we communities them. Starting from grassroots, starting from the nursery them. They start from the school them. We mama them. The health centers them, hospital them. Now a continuous conversation we need for the go on. We all need for the sing from the same in book. We all need for the say the same thing. They support one another and make sure say, we not get any more Khadija them. We need for make sure say we picking them secure. We need for make sure say we picking and get the right foundation. When in a family or in a certain way, a picking has been abused, whether sexually, physically, it affects them. It affects them foundation, them. It affects them psychologically, emotionally, socially. And now then people also be want to be responsible members of society in the future. And we need for help them for make sure say they get the knowledge, the care where they need at this stage, and then they go help for make them able for impact in society as they get older. It's important that all professionals them were involved. We talk about the family support units, we talk about the police, we talk about the other centers that where they work with their families there. So it's important that they get good training. It's important that they get policies that where they stick to, not a matter of this now the policy what would they use for this kind of people them, or for people them where get money, or way gentry with a different law for them, or now one law for the layman, another law for the policeman, or another law for the minister them. They're all for be subject to the same rules. the same policies them. You know, they treat people and different, because now that way you go able for put things in place and make sure, and people then go realize, say, they can't avoid being prosecuted if they do the thing they are. So you do thing way wrong, you face the consequences of your behavior. The law will come down on you. You go get justice for them picking their ass. So, and it's important that message they go through from top to bottom. All man need for know that and respect that, and respect the picking them, respect the woman them. All man deserve for be respected.
Indeed, everybody deserve for be respected. I come back to Yvonne. Yvonne, I want to ask you a question. So the UN Secretary General in report say we all as people have a shared responsibility, global solidarity, responding to socio-economic impact of the COVID. But more so is stress, say, even within that, on the 26th of April 2020, the UN Secretary General urged all governments to make the prevention and redress of violence against women and girls a key part of their national response plan for the COVID. The appeal was answered to by, 146 member states. How has Sierra Leone implemented this?
Okay. I could just join words with Bergil where say all man rights will be respected, because what we not can recognize the human rights na human rights. And just because we go through this pandemic, no means say we for pack up we woman rights when are we human rights and put on a corner, say okay, when COVID done, we go come back and address the issues them. We need for do side by side, because all them things and they're equally important sides of society, mutually exclusive. And if you get for protect, you protect with health and safety rights, are the same way you get for protect my rights to safety, right? And as a woman are entitled to that day. Now in this fight against COVID, they under this with national COVID response center when we NACOVAC, and I'm so glad to say the government make sure say they include woman business, and we get a person of Tanya Fraser when are in the in-house for make sure say then they include gender into the conversation, that we're not just doing things business as usual where we just they go people and they sit down and they make decisions the way they affect women them. They not include women in the discussion. We know they do that again, where you will get a table full of men taking decisions on things the way they affect human rights. We have a representative there where they ensure say every single way how them they look then they remember the gender considerations, because how COVID they affect man, not to say they affect woman, because they get different implications, especially with the kind of roles them we women play. So for instance, we get we large we frontliners them. We get a large amount of we health workers them. When are females them, they are nurses. Then they provide that frontline support. And if you they take decision the way they affect health workers, where they affect women them, where they play their role, then you can't just take them in a blanket form. You get to take their unique perspective then, because the same time we get woman when a caregiver now where they provide health service, now the same way you most likely get that same woman there when a caregiver now in home. So imagine with all the stigma and all the fears we be surround this COVID here. If me na woman, me na health worker, I don't go work. I don't go attend to patients where they don't test positive for COVID. I have to, how are they go back na host? How are they go back na host for go take care of me picking them? Especially when most of the time, women and the caregivers them. Yes. So we can't have these discussions without considering the female angle of it. So no matter how uncomfortable it will be for man their way or people they want continue for perpetuate this with patriarchal society, it's no longer feasible. It no longer makes sense for exclude women from the discussion. And so at least I have to say the people in charge in terms of NACOVAC and Ministry of Defense, we don't consider say, look, we can't just have this discussion. We have to include some form of gender mainstreaming in our conversation. So that side we don't try.
That's okay. So at least we can say there is gender mainstreaming within conversations happening in Sierra Leone. Now I want switch a little bit the gear to Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, so we see Nayaso just now where DICA give a number of 30% between the ages of 15 to 20, picking them inside Salone, girl picking them, they've either had a child or they've been pregnant at least once. Now we also see a number we come out recently, and I quote from Asma Kamara James, we say an estimated 1,572 girls who took the 2020 WASC and Becker examination were pregnant. That is a high number.
Yeah. So it is serious. The situation really is serious. So it needs some national conversation because there are so many social factors we're responsible for the issues that we face today as a society, especially the issue of rape. You know, because with the CC, big man they go and defend small picking them, then they misuse them as a result of the situation within the inside. And that they make them pregnant, and then when they make them pregnant, either they end up for say, okay, marry them because at the family level, now so they can say, okay, can't put cola, can't put with yourself, scan your face, or some of them big man them, either they get them wife them, they get them picking them, they don't already reach to the age, and then also we see say, a lot of sexual activities they happen among teenagers again, and then they influence a lot of things. You know, we don't get any empirical evidence for say social media, but we know say social media they play another great role. Peer pressure they play another great role. But it knows say a lot of people them from the cases so far, what would they see? About half of them cases 3,000 cases would they see say most of them are pregnant. You know, where we do STI, they either get STI or them pregnant. So for this fact, we don't get up to now 8 cases of HIV positive. You will see, say, as a result of rape, you know, them picking them or sexual penetration, then don't become, you know, then life don't be shattered, then destiny don't be destroyed, either by that individual. In fact, the perpetrators them, now so if some of them, then they run away, they are not being apprehended. So now a serious issue now with society, we need collective effort, like every speaker they talk. I see the president now, we get a presidential task force where people them within the response of this issue, activists them and other government parasitas them, they come together every month for me to the president and update them on issues like this. But community need a role to play because most of them then they happen now communities them, then they happen now the whole now we neighboring hosts. So communities need a role to play for men to come up and protect with girl picking them. Because the girl picking them, they cry for protection. The girl picking them, they cry for men them be encouraged, men them not be stigmatized. Because one of the things that they happen, like for instance, we would be talk about pregnant girls. You know, if you become pregnant and you have a sexual relationship with somebody and you become pregnant, you therefore as a girl picking, you therefore, you know, because first the community says they shun at you, your parent then go stop at you, then go start for discourage you, then go start for do a lot of things. That is where even some girl picking them when they're so brilliant, when they start at the as then they go to the secondary school, you see say they drop, you know, because of them social issues around communities, around the home, around where then they settle, and then issue of sexuality, we know they discuss to begin them. That is where activists they try for advocate the family life education for comeback. Now the school curriculum, because parents we don't culture taboo and whatsoever, people it becomes an issue. In fact, in certain communities, they talk about sex and sexuality, then go say you teach you picking them bad things, which of course, if you not teach them, then go hear from them, comping them. Obviously, they don't get the correct message. They're not going able to know the dangers. They're not going to know the repercussions, and at the end, it will affect them. Future it affects their destiny. So that is what they encourage communities for me them be a bit responsive, make them be able open-minded, for me they able and for me they able able even guide them picking them because about even if we have the best infrastructure, even if we have the best laws in the country, for now the strongest rape law in the country where I think the perpetrators them for don't afraid by now. Nobody know for them if because of the law we'll get if people them don't listen and they're not you they see say people them you go see say if law for don't change somebody if for don't be say nobody but I think say with all the best laws that we have, still the issue of rape is persistently occurring within our community, within our homes, and then we see some of the cases so far. I tell you, when you listen to some of the cases, 5-year-old, we get 6 months baby. So I don't know what's happening. Honestly, sometimes when I then at my office, I get some stories and I read some stories when they share, because on a daily basis, as soon the case come now center, especially some horrible stories. Weeks back, we get a call in Kano, a woman was raped and was dumped in this in a gutter, and then at the end of the way, we call for ambulance before they go take an encounter in hospital. He get for loss in life. We're not able to ascertain she's 35-year-old woman. So we're not able to ascertain who did the action. We're not able to know who did it. All of them things is just horrible things and when they happen in our communities, especially when you work on these issues, when you every day, you go start for us. What is happening with our nation? What is happening with our communities? What is happening with our parents? What is happening with society that we today? So it is a collective responsibility. We can't leave it to government alone. We can't leave it to civil society. We can't leave it to an individual alone. We all need role. We all need to play our own parts. Parents, parts. Certain times I listen to certain stories. Parents and this week I this boy I me ma go left and school. Because then things in our school now for be reform you begin. No, that's from the home.
That's right.
Home start to reform that boy begin. For me, understanding masculinity. For me, understand how for relate to the woman. For me, understand woman not to a school for teach and these things. Until we, the parents, until Papa and Mama sit on the house and start for become role models for their children and start for them with them so that they go able to understand exactly how them for behave. So we are calling, especially in these 16 days of activism, we are calling everybody, communities to come forward. But they don't lag behind because we see say they are lagging behind. Yes, they don't get confidence for reports now. Yes, people are coming out, but the same way that they get confidence for report, let them have that confidence to protect, to prevent.
That's right.
Sorry, rather than just for come out and report when it occurs. So many get that confidence say yes, it should not happen. And even if me own picking do that, I should not be able to tolerate that. No. So if thief, you begin thief, you go dishonor. The same thing. If you begin rape, you need to start disowning them. Parent and the papa them one, and then they go, hey, we are love this thing. We are not picking now. So and it's really really affecting these fights because now the same parents way then they come out today rape. Now the same parent that they allow them picking them for go rape or picking them. So we have to be careful because it's not all from the sky that they come on. They are not coming from the streets. They are coming from their homes. And from the home they come on, then they go rape other picking, other person. So you have to think about it, and we all need to come together for better parents and better people in society.
Okay, Thambulem, I've been telling us, say this conversation at times it's going to be difficult. But it's going to be real because these are some of the conversation we need to have. So I tell Mr. Daniel, Boku, thank you for how frank and open and honest he be, in laying out the issues. Few months back, if I remember, I do a show called, Sierra Leone, a pimping culture of girls. And I still stand by that statement. The Sierra Leone, we get an innate pimping culture of we girl picking them. Girl picking born quick one, una don't assign and to man. Una don't get a boyfriend, una they allow big man them for call small picking me girlfriend. No. All of this languaging, all of these wordings, when we they encourage them within with society, guess what? They manifest in practice. And yes, I strongly believe, say, the home, the parents then get a lot for play. Most of the time, una can believe, say, una send una pikin and go school, the teachers then are the responsibility for groom una pikin them, for train them how for be. No. Listen, that is why it is called a village. That is why it is called a community.
That's right.
You do the work, the teacher as themselves as part of the community, then they help. The neighbor them as part of the community, then they help. The grandpa and the granny and the auntie them and the uncle them as part of the community, then they help. But this thing about, talking about sex with your children and let them understand their bodies as a taboo within the African society, trust me, it don't drown we. It don't do we a lot of harm than good. Because guess what? The moment they start feeling certain things in their body starts, reacting in certain way, they get curious. Because no one has taken the time for explain to them what that mean and waiting at the repercussion and the consequences. So they go on and they explore, and then boom, then fall into STDs, then fall into HIV, then fall into high teenage pregnancy. And the brunt of it is taken by the mothers and by the girl child. Because guess what? In that moment, the boy goes on to school, the boy
life goes on.
Life goes on for the boy. It's as if nothing has happened. How many picking the northern born na Salone where the one that were responsible for the pregnancy deny the belly and nothing not come up here. Sometimes these children come out as a spitting image just to vindicate their mother, spitting image of the papa. And then in that case, you have nothing else to say. We not get DNAs them where they run for say, okay, you they deny this speaking, can't make we not get that culture there. We get the culture of na famble name, make we not come well the famble name, do ya, make we talk and small, make we do and this, make we do and that. But you see, the na famble name business and make we talk as famble business. Don't bring we country into, a brink of destruction. Where we girl picking them not know the value, the power and their strength. Where we boy picking them not know, their value, their power and their strength in protecting the opposite sex and not abusing them. Ms. Berra, I want to go to you. And I want to ask another question. On the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform Action of UN Women Generation Equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future, campaign demands equal pay, equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work, and end to sexual harassment and violence against women and girls. Healthcare services that responds to the needs and to their equal participation in political life and in decision making in all areas. How far has Sierra Leone come with regards to equal pay, with regards to the recognition of unpaid care and domestic work, with regards to, healthcare services that directly respond to the needs of women? How far have we come as a nation?
Thank you very much. To be honest, I not think Sierra Leone don't move much in that respect there, because there is a disparity within earning capacity of the woman them against the man them. There is also, the notion that the woman now in charge of the house, now they take care of childcare, now they do the main thing them now the house. And in respect of that fact, the woman then get a big role for play, and it's important for let the man themselves be part of this. Women they need for be more involved in the decision making, in the laws that are being made for support the woman there. So it's important that we get more women them where they stand up, where they represent women them and be more vocal about this. Yes, in the last few years we don't get a few more women them where they stand up, a few more organizations them where they speak out about it, but it appears that it's a lot of talk and not a lot of action being taken. You get the government, they say they support this, they support that, but it doesn't translate down to see the proper effect of that happening. So then they talk the talk, but it's not happening in real life. And that is where it needs to happen. Women need to be taken seriously. Women need to be on the same path as the men. Women need to have the same rights. And when the young girls and the young women them see that, the government, the policies and all that, they support them, they encourage them, that's what give them the zeal for be more vocal, for do more, and for ensure that things get to the point where they need for be. But I think Salone Day a bit of a way to get there. We will get there, but we're a bit of a way from there.
We're a bit of a way to get there. And
yes.
So I get into some nitty-gritty right now. On June 24th, 2020, the UN chief's call for action has been further accompanied by the interagency statement on violence against women and girls in the context of COVID, with the objective of highlighting 6 critical areas for action, providing the UN system with a common set of key advocacy messages and coordination for action. Now, even aside from COVID or with COVID, I can ask the panelists them a specific sets of questions dealing with these 6 call for action. And I will start with Ms. Decker. Making urgent and flexible funding available for women's rights organizations and recognize their role as first responders. How is Sierra Leone doing, and what should Sierra Leone be doing? I think say you mic they off.
Sorry, can you read back again that question?
So the question is, making urgent and flexible funding available for women's rights organizations and recognize their role as first responders. How is Sierra Leone doing, and what should Sierra Leone be doing?
So when you talk about women's rights organizations, so we talk about the grassroots organizations, which I believe are definitely the first point of contact. I think Sierra Leone has done quite a bit of work around that, especially if we look into the space right now. We have organizations like Purposeful Production. Purposeful, they were part of the Solidarity Fund, which was raised during the Khadija protest and all. We have organizations like that who are Sierra Leonean led, because it is very important for us to understand that some of this funding that comes from organizations that are not Sierra Leonean or African led cannot be so flexible. So when we have such spaces like Purposeful, who give small grants in terms of advocacy, in terms of capacity building, I think we have come quite a bit far. And then in terms of women's organizations, especially, that for me is, I don't know, it's a bit of a challenge right now. You know, it's a bit of a challenge, especially some of the issues. The thing about Sierra Leone is we handpick the issues and that we want to talk about, and the issues that we want for fund. So you look at a topic where me very passionate about, FGM. There is no way you can talk about rape. There is no way you can talk about child abuse, human rights violation, and you say FGM is not rape, FGM is not human rights violation, and things like that. So the moment when we have a state or society that, you know, make conclusive decision that no, we not go, you know, try for solve this issue, rather we go joke and go to the next issue. That is really not a recipe for sustainable change. I think we need to really start looking at our issues from the problem tree. You have the problem, and then you get all the root causes, and then you have the repercussions, which are the leaves and things like that. So if you look at Sierra Leone, we have the problem of gender inequality. You have the problem of women. Half of the population are left behind because society believes that we're not strong enough. Then we need to go down. We need to really go down and look at some of them tradition they are so way they don't, you know, it's because of the patriarchal society where they're in. So they don't systematically create their society there. So like the Bondo society, which now is a society where female genital mutilation is practicing. So we believe that the Bodo society can, you know, give us women power and things like that. But we don't understand that it is a patriarchal society. Now, man, they form that society. Therefore, when woman, they believe at some point a year we get power, we get power. So we really, really need to pay attention to the major issues, which are such as FGM. And again, Purposeful Production, you know, they have capacitated our organizations, you know, that speak up against FGM. Recently, there was even a movie, a film documentary that was developed, and we currently they show them across Sierra Leone. So it's very important that once we pay attention to those issues, then we tackle child marriage, we tackle rape, we tackle sexual and reproductive health abuse, and all things like that. But in a nutshell, in looking at the bigger picture, I believe they really, really don't come far. And there's a lot more to be done, but at least I'm happy. Well, I'm not happy. I'm grateful for the point where we are right now.
Yeah. Grateful for the point where we are right now. And I strongly also believe that you cannot talk about gender-based violence. You cannot talk about abuse without talking about FGM. I mean, for you to talk about abuse and talk about gender-based violence and leave FGM as a silo, as a cultural practice, as a cultural issue, as a cultural pride, there is some distortion there. And the moment we start getting real about this distortion and start having real conversations about things, culture is good. Culture is great, don't get me wrong. But when culture harms, I always say, be careful. When culture hurts, and when culture harms. You know, I sit amidst a lot of different people. When you see me with the Timini and you know, the Limba tribe, where they dance the music, and can feel say me na one of them. When I go inside the Mende culture, where they dance the music, then can get lost so one days. When you see me with me Madinga and me Maranka people, then can say but then I get for correct them and say na eku creativity they dance so. So culture is good, culture is great, but let it not harm. I want to go to Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, I want to ask you a quick question, because this question here is so very fitting for what you to do. My question is, support health and social services to continue their duty of care to violence against women survivors and to remain accessible, especially those most likely to be left behind. How is Sierra Leone doing, and what should Sierra Leone be doing?
Good. So first, I think first I want to be grateful to we partners them, all civil society organizations them, to even the government for raise the bar high on this issue, because in the past, like I said in the beginning, like we don't advocate from 2003. We don't push on this issue for me. We get awareness raising along so that organizations and attention will need, like for me, everybody know about this issue, that it is a problem in Salone, so we need to take careful attention. We not been to get that in the past, but we see say with the high number of cases over from 2018, we report out, we raise awareness, and radio democracy and purposeful, other partners, and everybody come on board, and then we get for confront government, and then government, with the wisdom of the presidency, declare the state of emergency, and by declaring the state of emergency alone, been able to raise an international eyebrow on this issue that Sierra Leone is really, this is serious. Even though we see a lot of things that happen after the state of emergency, we see we lost Khadija. We see a lot of other picking them, not only Khadija, like you've been saying, we have a lot of Khadijas and way them they go on unreported even some of them, the Canada Center, unfortunately, we will not talk about individual survivors because we deal with thousands of survivors every day. So, but the issue of Khadija been also raised a lot of awareness around this issue. So we see a lot of attention has been given to the issue of sexual and gender-based violence. That's alone. Now, at community level, at state level, at NGO level, and at donor level. So we see a priority of donors, and priority of government and other stakeholders being therefore be focused on that. For we, in fact, in 2018, we therefore expand to 2 new districts. That is Bo and Makeni, because now only 3 districts will be in the operate. That is Freetown, Kono, and Kenema. So in 2018, we therefore, try, even though we've been in struggle with funding, but we say because the services needs to be accessible to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Because we see people that they come out from Kailang, Pujang, all over for come, na Kenema. Some people that they come out Mashaka, Podloko, for men then come na Freetown, In fact, only serious cases we are reported, and then they were referred to our rainbow centers from those communities. But we see with this expansion, we see a lot of people then able to get access to services. However, it is not still enough. We see the government also open one-stop centers in 6 other districts who say we know for more survivors them able to get access to free medical treatment and psychosocial support. So government they do your part, but still you not do it. There is a need for every community every government hospital make available, free medical treatment, because that's what they access. That is what the law says. But the problem where then they face in some hospitals, because free healthcare treatments, it only targets under 5 and lactating mothers. And the law says even gender-based violence survivors should have free healthcare, but the drugs are not available. in those health centers, especially in communities, at the government hospitals where some of those cases are reported. So it is a serious challenge. So therefore, not only in the district headquarter towns, then go able free access to medical treatments and even psychosocial services. So you will see, say, there are still challenges, but you know, a 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. So we don't see, say, first we get 3 rainbow centers, we don't get 5 rainbow centers, now we get 6 plus 6 one-stop centers. So we don't almost increase, we don't go into the last 1 or 2 years, we don't go to 11 centers of where survivors them can get access to free medical treatment and psychosocial support. And then we see, say, the courts, the model courts don't be launched na Freetown, and then we understand, say, the judiciary want for replicate this model courts now the regions them back so that survivors them go able to access justice or then one for get justice at any time. And then but in terms of funding, where you talk, there is still need for forensic lab in this country. There is still need. In our last presidential task force meeting, I think donor partners were there and everybody was there, and the president was so open to say, you know, there is a need for me to get, you know, forensic lab. And then, in fact, the president, Gefo Tekam, has an initiative for launch a basket fund so that even citizens can donate for this forensic lab, because it's something that is very, very expensive. But for government and other donors, you know, they will come on board and then we will get forensic lab. Because also, may we not forget, you know, perpetrators, they also get rights, you know, for defend themselves until they find guilty, you know, because sometimes, you know, one of the things that more they face, where with doctors, they don't do examinations and everything. It is very difficult for me to ascertain, yes, the act has occurred, but who did it? You were not where happen only with forensic examinations and whatsoever you were able to ascertain. It's only you depend on the story of the survivor and the story of other people within the area who have told you about this issue that you will be able to stand in court to be satisfied enough to, you know, testify to say, yes, this person nine do this act and nine, you know, perpetrates this or nine violate this person. So we still need funding as organizations. More than they respond, we still need funding. They face a lot of challenges. For run the organization is very expensive for run one rainbow center. In the year, we are spending not less than $100,000 for one rainbow center, just for run payment of staff, drugs, operational costs, everything. It's not easy for run one rainbow center just 1 year. So, but we still commit ourselves for more continuing to provide the service system where we think, say, they're necessary for most survivors. Then, because when they're reposting, the first thing we remember are medical treatments, you know, because to save your life is medical. You need medical treatment. Only you need psychosocial support. You need counseling. Because, you know, a lot of times that is where, you know, where they can come with vexation, they can come with anger. Once then they receive treatment and then they cool down and then they receive psychosocial support, counseling, then they cool down. Because often and time again, when they come, you know, you see, say, you know, some of them are completely traumatized, you know, like some cases few weeks back. This PKR, she was raped and dropped and then brought to the Rainbow Center, and then like they try for treatment, but they don't do scan, they do everything. Everything was okay, but she's still saying crying pain, severe pain, and whatever pain continuously. You see, say she was restless throughout the night. We get for admit them. You know, we have to pay the medical bills. We have to do everything. She was there for 10 good days before able to come back to intensive, before able to come back to normal life and then start for. And because after that, she went back to that home and then she decided, okay, I will not stay. She was a student. I will not stay here. I'm going to my village. She is today in her village because, you know, able to done another community day. First, because of stigma. Second, because of the situation, you know, we happen to Ram. You know, people then they always tell them about this. We recall, we remember that's anytime when they pass in that area, outside the incident occur, they come back fresh in mind. So all of these things are issues way very serious, and so survivors need for access the services as when they need them as quickly as possible.
So survivors need to access the services when they need them as quickly as possible. I should say, una don't hear some traumatic accounts them, or some traumatic events them, where they happen to we picking them, where they happen to, we sister them, where they happen to we mama them, where they happen to we auntie them. Daniel, I tell you, thank you for the recount of, their issues and also I want to take the time for say thank you very much to Daniel for intem today. He gets another call of duty where he need for, go attend to starting now. So he not go there with we till the end of the program. But I tell him boku thank you. I feel say when it comes to health, when it comes to services that respond in the healthcare sector, I feel say I don't really get them for make it really deliberate on some of the hard facts them and the hard truths them where they happen as Sierra Leone. Listen, without money, we can't get things done. Funding is important. Funding is important. I go open the phone lines there now. If people they get contribution, they getting them where they want for say. Every caller gets 2 minutes. We are not going able to give una more than 2 minutes because this is an important conversation that we're having. But even as we wait for the calls, them I want to go to Ibo. I want to ask you this question. Place a high priority on police and justice responses. Put in place prevention mechanism. Waiting na lawyers then role. Waiting Salone they do. Even with lawyers or with other institutional body, policing and justice institutional body. Waiting them they do and waiting you think say we need for do as a collective body for push this agenda forward. And hopefully, if we not even succeed in eliminating the numbers, we can reduce to such a point that we are in control of the situation. Because right now, no matter what is said, we are not in control.
Mr. Keto talks something interesting where he say even perpetrator self-gain right. Because how the law they look at me is that everybody, when they carry you go before the law, then they take and say, then they presume you for be innocent until they prove you for be guilty. Because the law they look and say, it go rather be 99% we guilty than it jail 1% we innocent. So, when you did in that situation, the sexual offense, domestic violence, na crime, there were most of the time, it happen outside now you and your abuser, now one-on-one. So, when you go lay complain, now it can tell like say now you word against the other person in word. But technology now they improve to a point where you're able to investigate. You able collect like I say forensic data for let you yourself show say okay look oh this man they beat me look the mark in my body not to say na for this na person and be night take beat me or like if na rape or something now the way how the law they past and say oh this person here it get broken hymen now the only thing they will tell you but you know they will tell you say okay this person here we get DNA for sure say it don't left in semen inside the woman or it gets pubic hair or something they like physical evidence where they tie the perpetrator to the crime itself. Boku other thing them back involved let's say like witness protection for instance where you can person say okay this person here it don't commit offense most of the time and they will perpetrate so they can be big man then as society. And then kind of people and they people ain't afraid for go testify against them. So until then, they even though people are not afraid, they're physically not getting means in terms of law, say transport, for instance. Because until when I go sit court today, they adjourn, pass for count tomorrow, and when they go sit court, then they give time saying at 9 o'clock. So until you go there the whole day. That way you don't dey all day, you dey lost yourself outside you dey get, because we know say within a country, but woman now that hand to month, now that daily where you go, we or for the day now you dey get. So as lawyers, we dey try for fill that vacuum for say, okay, you don't go lay complaint to police. If na the kind perfect world we dey, police forget the resources to say, okay, we dey investigate, we dey go chase after the witnesses, we dey make sure say witnesses then go na court, take to the point, say the end of the trial. But even though we police then can try, they get limited resources. And I'm so glad they say the theme for this year, the first one they didn't fund. Because the reality is, even though you get people that were willing to do the work, you get people that will get to know how to do the work, the resources are just not there. So we did it for filling that gap. We was okay. You are gonna make you complain. We they go with you. Oh, you get witness. Oh, you witness not get transport. Oh, we they go with them. We'll get transport. Oh, this post here, we need for talk to them. We need for cooks, and we need for prepare for trial, because you know for going to court na fear for something. Some man go afraid. We go did it for say, okay, we dey hold you and they cooks you, we go talk. No, so they go show you what for go talk or for say if I go die or something. But just give that preparation they for say, okay, no worry, where you gonna so and so. That dandy we did for provide that support throughout the trial, and even we can even go beyond, because the reality is when we get issues of domestic violence, and this was a case we had where you as the victim, you want to remove yourself from that situation there. And most of the time, we domestic abuse, it come in terms of physical abuse, it come in terms of sexual abuse, it come in terms of economic abuse. So if you're not somebody where you depend on your partner for provide for you, and then the person want they beat you, you say you are on our way, who say you they get them? And most of the time, the woman them, we know they left with picking BN. You know, go left with picking to that mandate. Lawyers had to intervene for even give that woman the business money, because now the reality, dandy. We can't say, oh, we want to fight domestic violence, we want to stop sexual and gender-based violence, when the reality is nobody wants to be in that situation. But sometimes and then we can feel like say we not get the option. And that's why when you give us in that alternative for say, look, if you report, we get safe home for let you stay. If you report, we will able to set you up with something that will make you economically independent of this person right now where they abuse you. Or if you report, we will make sure so we go with you in a court. We get like a protection order, like what we say, restraining order. For stop that person, like can you? And all that it takes money. Me as a member of lawyers, that means time I volunteer. I still have my day job, I still get all that in it. But if we're funded to the point where we're able to employ paralegals, then we employ project managers and for say, okay, you're going to be paid for do this, you do this, you focus on them, then we're able to say, okay, we actually make sustainable change. But the point where we did so, we still have a highly projectized organization where now we projects come or we get funding for do something, we roll them out to go try for manage them. We self-organize with 1 or 2 fundraising events. But it's really, really important for we make sure say if we're so enraged but the Khadija Sakos, now we put we money usa we monthly. If we want to make a change, we really need for make sure say we're willing for contribute towards anything and they like for instance the t-shirts we are wearing so right now Asma James in t-shirts. Instead they do so much good work, you get in Girls Plus, you get in Black Tuesday movement. If you buy these t-shirts, you are contributing to the fight. Not to all man get for be lawyer or get for be healthcare professional for able to support the cause, but in the only little way you can contribute.
Okay, I go to the caller. I go to the phone lines. Caller, waiting at your name, who say you the call from, and waiting at your contribution. 2 minutes.
My name na Balansama Jane. I dey call from India. Me na a nurse from Sierra Leone. I dey read physiotherapy in India. The topic is very, very complex and integral topic wherein it involves different facets of life. Just like when I get different people at the podium, I feel say me as an health somebody, I joined the Ministry of Health in Sierra Leone 2008. So a lot of things that happen at the Ministry of Health, wherein I know saying a lack of sophisticated materials them they make with the give under reporting of certain sexual violence, domestic violence, or actually forgive a confined medical report. When I come to India now, I can study. I did now my final year. So a lot of things in the happen where I compare back home in the health sector. Now because of we lack plenty resources, like waiting we for do we work for. Like now, Sierra Leone, we campaign of we first lady na hands off our girl, domestic violence, or let me say rape. So in that case, how we expect them to achieve up to 90%? We forget a forensic lab. We forget, diagnostic lab we are in. Like where the lawyer they say so. We then say we able to prove the person say yes, you penetrate to this person. But if you then lab, then they not be instituted. And we know how the first lady they go around and campaign. So this one involve we all. We the diasporas them, we the people who they Sierra Leone. We all can put your resources, we can put your time together and campaign for letting them available in Sierra Leone. Because as I say, in medical we get what we call anatomy and physiology. Where you don't know the anatomy and physiology of every body part, nothing they change them. You turn this book this way, you go Sierra Leone, you turn the book, you go India, and you go Germany, US, at the same anatomy and physiology in India. So that they tell you, say, what we learn at Sierra Leone is applicable all over the world. So when I compare, I study my nursing at Sierra Leone, I graduated 2012. So when I carry in 2017, I don't see anything different. I observe the way they do their work. I see say, yes, we're capable for doing the same as Sierra Leone. But why we need to do them? Because we don't get the required materials that we need. So as a result of that, if we put hands together, we help the government. The government is ready for push the health sector. I feel say plenty things can be correct in Sierra Leone, just like it be correct in other places them around the world. So me on appeal and me on talk. This is not a good platform where they follow every time. So we na in India now na 12 a.m. almost na morning now we depend in the other day. But I still listen to the program and make sure say I follow and myself give me only to contribution. So just like when I don't involve different people on board and give your input, I think today we say and then we get a lot for play. When some of you don't travel, you don't go out, I can't for educate in the medical field. But a lot of things and they around the environment where they learn, we need to only medical. So if we go back home and implement anything then we see how we go support the government. We see how we go teach with fellow Sierra Leoneans them. And we all in the diaspora them, just like when they do so on this platform. Which all when they talk, people and follow them and listen, I feel say a lot of change will happen. Because of time, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
we get a lot for play for we country for it will be a change place.
Indeed, thank you very much, Kola. Yes, it is a collective effort, but it is an effort that government must take the lead on, and we will join in as citizens, as practitioners, as change makers, and we will complement the work of government. Healthcare is the work of government. Healthcare is a basic need that should be afforded to all Sierra Leoneans, regardless of their status. So I want to take the time for ask Ms. Beryl, what is the importance of data collection, even with programming and getting women safe, building ethics and safety standards and developing safety standards for some of the programs them where they run as Salone for help women, waiting na the importance of data collection in building programs, ethical programs with safety standards.
Thank you very much. It's important, the data collection, very important, because with the data collection, you go able for allocate resources for say, okay, now this amount of people then we deal with within this month, that this and do projection for the following month or for the following year, so that you go get the right support where they need. So for example, if let's take, for example, wait till Mr. Keto made talk about, say, they get about 3,000 cases. So if you get 3,000 cases in the last 3 months, then you can make a projection, say, okay, in the next 3 months, we might get 3,000 or 4,000 more cases we need for deal with. That data, they go help you for plan ahead, for get the right support, for get the finances we needed, forget the professionals that we go help for make sure say they're victims they are so, or their survivors they are so, get the right support where they need. It's also important for the funding as well, so that you're able for prepare, not when you get the people and they come in, I tell you begin for prepare, you get for prepare before they come in, because now that way you go get a good and effective service, an efficient service when you plan ahead, so that the data important and that's go serve for that purpose.
Okay, the data important and that go serve, for that purpose indeed. And for ensure that services for violence against women and girls survivors are regarded essential and remain open and resource and made accessible to those who are left behind is very important. Listen, this whole thing come back to funding. We anyway even talk say, then they prepare, victims them for appear in a court. Then they, even when they part of, then calling or part of, the processes. Then they even give money, business startup money, for make the survivor or the victim go start up in life. That is an extra, because if they come, you can't meet somebody for can't help you for look your case, then don't help you look your case, then don't prepare you for gonna. Listen, courts can be very intimidating. Now just imagine somebody don't rape you, somebody don't nyaka you, then you get for go team up na court, face that person there for testify. You know what I mean? Now that make Naya so, when such thing and they happen, the victim and the perpetrator, they know they meet. Then get, shield them. Then get protection mechanism them for isolate them. Then get safe houses. Then a lot of safe houses. I'm not saying the system here is perfect. No, it's not perfect, because every so now and then, as a matter of fact, violence against women, even here in Canada, has increased, especially in this time, where at least una able go walk, come, and this, that, the situation is a bit lax. For us, we've been sitting home for the past 9 months. 9 months. If you are working, except you're an essential worker, you cannot go outside. So you are home. Just imagine now, if you are home and you are dependent on your abuser, just imagine. So for 9 months, then just a kumo, more left, right, and center. At least before, where the lockdown not been there, and where the restrictions are not so strict, at least until that perpetrator, they go walk. So until you go free for 8 hours. But 24 hours round the clock, you're having to deal with this individual. A lot of women then don't lost their life, especially in this, COVID time, in this pandemic. So again, we go to the business of funding. We cannot stop talking funding. We get the president of I Am Every Woman where, finally technology don't cooperate with them. It don't join we. Madam Anita Koroma, I want to make you tell Fambul that I do quickly, even as we wrap up the program.
Hello, everybody. So sorry. No, sir, the network really don't give me a headache today. From almost o'clock, I try for join, but it's like difficult. But thank God I'm here. As I follow the conversation, I know say una done a great job, and listeners then they continue for getting views them and see how they call. for more keep the conversation. It's just today the 4th day of this activism. And even the end of the 10th is not the end of our activism. Every day in activism day, we're able to talk and raise the voices as we try to say, with lesser funds, cannot do nothing. And as I talk to you, they come out today, at the same thing we do, we get a whole lot of community engagements that they do from village to village. Freetown also in Sierra Leone, the advocacy for Kando Opponsi. Now, yeah, the work day. If we not get that kind of strategy, they come come back and meet some people there. We stop for they go just bring 2-3 people of good in one room. We say, okay, we'll now go talk back to the community is not working. Until when you go to the community, today we talk on this sexual gender-based violence and FGM. The whole community, Chief Allman, they tell we think he said nobody no ever do them. Now then cook inside the community, the whole the activity. They see the impact, the people and they feel them, then they understand. All them things they are where they happen. I understand the people and understand. Until we go back, go talk to them. Now I make if you see me now go at we need funding for national NGOs. Because waiting to happen now, them big NGOs, they are waiting to get their money, then come back, then they can't form a local NGO. So the duplication and replication, we will know the issues, the way for go talk now, the local direct with people. Now we then forgive them money they have for more to do the job if really they are genuine about development. But there is a whole lot of politics around it that we will genuinely want to do the work. We strain, we not get the funds. And until then people are able to more do the work at that grassroots level. What will people do? They talk the same language, then they see we say we not them picking it, we come back, we say what we not been to do, it's not good. But we know say we not been on make it happen. Now what we not know, what we not don't know so. What we not they do? Then set community bylaws, now then they police the community, now then they help them people learn for me they understand the laws. And the fine laws the way they don't make for Sierra Leone, then they're at the table. But I they still tell you, say we get a problem about implementation. Not so the few people the way they catch up now freedom they implement. What about we, the one the way they don't hear? A whole lot of cases then you police don't say 100% evidence now you do so they pull. Forensic lab, who that they wait for able to read the results and say yes, then penetrate on us so happy. We get beaucoup of case then they are way Rainbow can launch, they launch a COP community of practice when I'm in the current year. I openly talking to the funders then, to police, FSU, then feel offended. I say, I just have to say, to now they do now work. Now they do the report. Where they send and go na law reform, then tell you say case snowly because they're not going 100%. What can we do? We say, it's still like a joke. The speedy courts where they don't do law, go check how many cases that way they don't do, how many people and they don't sentence. Our speedy court, is it just the cases in Freetown or few cases where they unpicked? What about the majority where they suffer silently and quietly? Where some of the local NGOs and the CBOs then, where a small community organizations then, where you carry case, they know they look and some of who appear and say, this mamina in case they are men and no can give it trouble. But me, I know important pass a small organization we go back, go lay the complaint where that same picking need justice. Now McKinney will get 3 cases then take today. From that case, now we, Matilda, now we all been the talker. Take today justice no day. The comrade don't give up. Because justice delays, justice denied. We'll go talk to them, then give it back, talk to them. They're not getting nothing for do. So there is more to it than just a talking drum, talk the talk. We cannot work the work. Few cases and unpicked and say, oh, we don't win case. Oh, we don't implement. No, I'm still not comfortable with what is going around with us. I'm still not. People are suffering. Families are suffering. Communities need us more than ever before, even with the cases and the laws them, where the sexual gender-based violence, laws and the new one, the way they do, in the sense is not new, then just look at them, then look and say, Lord, go revisit them back, and bring in more, add more punishment. The people don't understand. If we're not going to the community for go after information there, for telling the impact, the implications, how this rape they affect, how FGM they affect picking, how you need today. Now, la for show now the clips and the videos. We're not going to enjoy say the people and understand and understand. We not go condemn them, but we will his own organizations now. We for go meet them now. It's right time we go inside the community with all the activities and the people, and then they feel say them belong, then they get sense, then they able talk, then they able take action. If we just sit down with a talk show, me sometimes I'm tired of talking. I they go now, and 10 communities are dealing with them. The 8th we don't do. All man they bless you so no go na. Can nobody no ever do this with me? For can meet we guys in our community, we engage 50 first, we they get 100, 200 the first meeting. Now bring key stakeholders, the girls them, the boys them, the young boy them, the woman them, imam them, chief them, all man come together and pastor. We talk about the issues in the community. They know I'm better than we know. We're not they go condemn them, but when they on that thing, they feel frustrated. They say na ignorance, na maker. So if we do more, we they achieve. We need na make the funding where they put on this year thing a much necessary. But more government organizations where they go by bigger on the after then come back, then can form the organization, then I can lead them for take their own money. We want now the grassroots way for talk, we know they get it. Does that make sense? Where is the development strategy where they bring, where they don't want to give people the money, and then they can manage them funds back and take and carry them. We are left with nothing. So we they talk. Funds and for man years, something and they will the women then talk. Some of it then give it, God give it gifts for more talk make people and listen, make the word and go inside people and boom. So man, you no get time, no get that gift. So we get for look at them in different ways with the build capacities them, like other organizations, or they bring them inside with the build and capacity tell and say, advocacy not to talk for just talking, for know the strategic points there. You for know how they able to talk to people and make them understand the issues that we want to talk about. It's a whole lot of skills. It's not just as a bit talker, they go talk. No. Do you know the issues? How can you articulate them well to reach out to the people, make them understand you, even then they don't understand, they know say not so you do. So funding na key. If you're not funding, they don't give it the power, they don't win which time make people then go right to story. More right to story, more talk about stories. Now the only way we Africa they go out. Now the only way we Sierra Leone we move on come on at the bigger committee all day we they look for crisis before money come. No, let's stop the crisis, no move on. Development are by stage. The whole country say na bigger police 9 day na for big. And without they feed you, they control you. We're not go able to achieve nothing in this country if we not stand for ourselves. Say, Lord, we raise your own funds, small do reaction. Now make they say, kudos to I am every woman. Whatever little una give it, we be able for pusher. Whatever little una give people, now una they raise una funds, una give it, say una go do this. We they do and we come back to una say, this now we don't do, una see the impacts we create. This is what I really am tired. Anybody call me now for talk, they tell us I don't have for talk show. Action. I'm gonna go to the last village for make them know say waiting them they doing no good, and then they accept. Then they say we not be no now that we know them picking the air. Yes, now you the big one, now you get a responsibility. Get for be the role model. There's a whole lot of issues. We'll not go down for talk and go now for see them.
Indeed, we not go down.
Yeah. If the one the way they bring the money, then they answer the right people, and then the work not go ever done for Salone. And we now forget passion for we own people. Now we forget the sacrifice for more do the right thing. Whatever little then give more again to people and more sacrifice. Me now that's I get for talk on this activism. We talk more. Let's move on, man.
Thank you very much, Madam Anita. Even as I round up the program, I want to ask one last question and give me panelists them time for say then goodbye and then final word. I want to ask this to Daika. Daika, while the world's reviewing progress made over the past 25 years since the adoption of the Beijing Platform for Action, it is time. It is time that, you know, the voices of the next generation of feminists who are shaping the future be heard. So I want to know, within the context of Sierra Leone, I don't need to ask you if you're a feminist. The work you do, the way you speak, I can clearly tell that you are definitely a feminist. I want to know, within the Sierra Leone space, a space being created by, the leaders of feminism within Sierra Leone, is space being given for the young generation to walk on their shoulders and blossom forward? Okay, so you mic it off.
Sorry, waiting at the question.
So basically, they ask for, say, within the context of Sierra Leone, a space being created by the forebearers of feminism within Sierra Leone for allow the younger generation, the young feminists, for walk on their shoulder and chart the path forward.
Is that a question or it's a statement?
It is a question. It is a question, and I'm asking. We want to know.
The question is, if
is space being created? So the young, yes, space.
Definitely, yes. A space has been created. I will look at it on a personal perspective. My mom, for example, she got married to my dad. My papa na that kind man, we would say patriarchal man, the Madika, Musu man, like they have all these traditional laws that supports their patriarchal values and things like that. So for me, feminism, I think, is just recently, again, English language and all things like that. Feminism has always been in my family, has always been in Africa, especially. My mom, she walked away from a space like that around exactly 29 years ago, when they were this whole celebration about 16 days of activism. It all started on the inaugural Women's Global Leadership Institute around 1991. So that was exactly the time that my mom, being born and raised in Sierra Leone, not, ever having that backup to say, yeah, there is human rights outside of Sierra Leone. My mom, she stood against my dad, getting married to a man who is not even from Sierra Leone, outside of Sierra Leone. She spoke up in multiple ways, to the point where he said, since married, no, work me and me three picking at the take the cow them back na me home. That for me is feminism beyond feminism, For us now recently, yes, we have the whole, this space where we believe with the whole international organization, with the whole campaign and everything like that. We get that space who believe, say, yes, can always be the space we'll go on to if there's any issue. Again, back, I look into the space of Sierra Leone, the women that we have representing that space. I believe also, like, they also share the same values and passion as my mom did. Even though, yes, the women in this space, they at least have the education, they at least have the training, they at least have the guidance and things like that. So they know exactly how to go into communities and interpret the whole concept of feminism and gender equality and gender equity in a more, in a way where community will accept. But there's much to be done, really. There's really, really much to be done, because especially if I look in the context of Africa, I have been fortunate for the couple of years to attend series of conferences and seminars that give space to the younger generation. And I don't know, for some reason, when I go to other African countries, I feel more like that space for younger people to thrive, and the space for them to interpret their ideas is so much more safer compared to Sierra Leone. So a couple of years ago, there was a post I saw on Facebook about, there was this lady, she was in her mid-40s, and she was talking about about giving young people the space, something like that. But she was more coming from the space where, for them, it was more like in your age group, now they forget their opportunities than they. Forgetting that you're in your mid-40s and the generation in their early 20s, the opportunities definitely cannot be balanced on your end. We are the young people. We have ideas, we have initiatives, and we definitely can, with the guidance of the feminists who have, paved this path for us. If not because of those feminists, there is no way young people like us who were born exactly 1991, to be sitting here right now speaking on these issues. But I think there's just much to be done. There's so much to be done on that space about empowering us, the activists, the young people who we know can also because of, again, the money. We see some of us, our initiative, Girls Empowered, since we established in 2016, I would say only 20% of our activities and programs have been sponsored. 80% of it was self-sponsored, and that's because when I started my activism and volunteerism in these spaces, I realized that the lack of political will always be a challenge if you're trying to seek fund for certain issues that people do not recognize as a human rights violation like FGM. So I established Girls Empowered as a social enterprise where we were able to self-sustain ourselves. That means we were able to take up activities, programs, and no one could interpret to us how we can go about and, take up our programs. So that for me was one way or the other a challenge, because the space that I came into was not so encouraging for young people who just wanted to make their voices heard and their initiatives interpreted in a more sustainable manner. But yeah, much has been done, but there's so much more that they need to do, because young people, we are the future. In the next 10 years from now, so I will be 40 years old. So I will no longer be a youth. There's no way I will even try to claim that. So it's very important that I take that conscious decision, those conscious steps to empower the younger ones below me, because
indeed
I want to make sure that when I'm in those seats of power, whatever seats that I find myself in, my heart is in a place where I understand that these people that I need power can actually run the country that I live in, which should be Sierra Leone.
That's right. So the bearers and the chatters of waters, I hope say una don yeri, una pikin don't talk to una sister don't talk to una. There is need for inclusion, there is need for collaboration, there is need for make una open the waters, them part the waters even more, for bring them in, make them drink from una. Because if una not allow them for drink from una, I don't know how una wants for make them take on the baton from una. So in order for make them take on the baton from una need for bring them in for make them drink from una. I hope you've heard that. Now I want to give me panelists them few minutes, a couple of minutes, make them say their last words and then goodbye, and then hopes and aspiration, even as we go through these 16 days of advocacy and moving forward, because it does not end at the 16 days, it continues. There is never a pause on such work. There is constant continuity. I'll go start with Beryl. Beryl, waiting on your last word to people then.
Thank you so much for having me on your program, Ms. Matilda. Well, my final words is that, as we've all heard, it's an ongoing conversation. It's not something we need for stop. We go stop after the 16 days of activism. For me, it's an ongoing work. It's something that we need to do, and by God in power, we go able to move things on, make a difference, especially in Sierra Leone. We were able to get the funding where we need. We were able to lead with people them and teach them. We were able to be transparent and teach them what we know and help them to be better people them and make sure things improve in their lives, in their community as well. Because if the community is improved, it serves a better purpose for we all. Anyway, and it will bring up, better citizens. And I believe, this is just the beginning. I believe say that we will get a lot more people that will come into this conversation. We will get a lot of NGOs, then we're going to listen, and as well as other community-based organizations, and we're going to able to join hand with we and make the difference we need for make. And by God power, this will be eliminated. I believe say, you know, in the next few years, we will see a drastic reduction in gender-based violence. We will also, I believe, say we will see an end to it. Not only a drastic reduction, an end to it. That me prayer that one day. Thank you very much.
Okay. So an end, not only a drastic reduction, but an end. I want to turn to Miss Eben. Waiting go be your final word to fumble them today.
For me is how we recognize, how we learn for, no acknowledge for say we live in a society we're not safe for we women and we girls them. Will we acknowledge them? Now we learn for able to recognize the ways in which we society not safe. Now we learn for recognize say abuse. Now something not get faced to. Abuse no they come out from that dark street, outside some bad person, they can grab you and rape you. No. Abuse they manifest in very many different ways. But we make sure that we educate ourselves for able to recognize abuse. And once we don't acknowledge that, we don't recognize abuse, then we take action. Because honestly, we don't need for wait to be you. You don't need for wait to be your sister. You don't need for wait to be your pekin. It's a culture. We get a culture of abuse. And if you not take your time for do it you can now for fix that culture, it's going to come closer to home than you think. Because it might not affect you now. But if you continue, if you allow that culture there for continue for be perpetuated, then at some point it will affect you. So I want we take this fact here personal. Take them personal, like say this is something where they can affect you now, and now we make sure say we take action against this fact. Like Madam Anita don't say, we tired for the talk. We tired for the talk. Now we back up, we talk now. The right action. I believe say we able reach that point there where we they get zero tolerance to their issues them, to rape culture, abuse, domestic violence. I believe Dandy. And above me belief, I believe say I deserve to live in a world or in a country where safe.
Right.
And if I need them to happen where I'm still alive, because I need to feel protected in my society.
That's right.
So sample them do ya. No, we know wait to stay rich now we do more. No, we not make excuse for say, Nande na pastor, you know go do Dandy. No. No, we not wait for say, Ebo nobo, in a way be they arguing man. Now make them bitter. No. Though we acknowledge say we country not safe, though we able to recognize the different forms that we abuse they take, and then we take action for make sure say we make we country the kind way how we want and for it. Thank you very much for this opportunity to invite me to this program, and I want to thank you to all the other panelists and all the other like-minded individuals them in organization where they work on their issues them. As we they orange the world, now we make sure they'll continue for get hope say the work what we they do in not go in vain. Thank you.
Indeed, make we continue for hope say the work where we did do in not they go in vain. And they go to Dika straight away, tell Famble and goodbye and your last word. We not hear you.
My God, I'm sorry. Again, me Fambulem, wanna see the theme for this year where they talk about fund, respond, prevent, and collect. This basically just don't show we say it requires a collective effort for make we able to fight this sexual and gender-based violence against women and girl picking in our society. Like Madam Anita talked earlier, we have the issue of Sierra Leone where mismanagement or misdirection of funds you have grassroots organizations who are doing the work. So for me, I am calling on the international non-governmental organizations then within Sierra Leone for actually try for putting the resources and the funds in organizations that would then know say yes, are there in the grassroots and doing the work. And for us, me as an individual and also as my team, Girls Empowered, we definitely committed to not only prevent, but also to respond to these issues. And which eventually, I believe, say as a whole, organizations that would work around these issues. It's so important that we have our data. You know, there was something that Fatma Tassuri said. She's also, I think, the president or the vice president, I stand to be corrected, of Lawyers.
Yes.
Exactly, yes. And she told me that DIACA really will go around in circles, like if there's no data, like one grain data is, you know, it's like a million data that no one don't get. So it's so important that we collect our data, enable for understand really, really where the issue is and how can we attack it. Like Ebun just say, we have to really take conscious efforts for make sure so we fight these abuses, whether now we homes or we offices or, you know, even our streets, if you work, it's our responsibility for make sure so we fight them. Because if you allow this culture for, you know, be perpetrated, then one way or the other, it definitely get for come closer to your home. So yes, let's do better.
Let's do better. Let's do better is the word. And now I go to Madam Anita for a final statement and goodbye.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Matilda, for the great job. Now, we're all in at the movement, but today bringing out those panelists for me to do this work. I want to appreciate the old people that we sit on at that space day today for talk all the issues there. They're not new, but I hope say the conversation they continue because some of we, as you rightly in it, try for address for the young people, we need a generation where genuinely they stand and do what and they do, like they're having our own business. I meet them. They say, Auntie Anita, I want mentor me, Mama, now we go school by senior for them. But it just get your mind when they say big woman, a grab for himself, a one for sitting down. Money, no money. They do open door, they do your own business, bring in girls, support them. That is the preventive measure we need for take. Don't no wait for crisis again. The crisis don't work. And when crisis overrun, we not get money. Now they the danger they we're not able to control them. Now I make the advocacy now look at the strategic way. That's an one, the collection, where they say for collect. Me, any sourdough, we they go back, they do survey. You look at waiting to happen, waiting at the gains there, waiting at the loss there, we sign at the loophole, we left for lock. Now the only way, the funds then, like how they talk, me, I get a social enterprise where they want me all a mescal package, na a social enterprise. I come to me notice say if organization you want for run a charity, you need an entrepreneurship in you. If you not get funds, you know they will run them because just like the way that can they talk with the international community, yes, they then get the interest. They will control and then they can go to and say, come, you self can't take your go do you. So when me get me funds, nobody you know they ask me. I get other organizations what they fund inside my own money, what they fund raise. Now the only way out for Sierra Leone, let we think scarcity. How would they able to raise their own funds and go do we work when nobody know they go control we say because when we work against the world again, now so they minimize the problems and although they prevent the abuse, now so we they bring in knowledge to people like they see the crimes and they reduce. Until we get that strategy there, we're all able to talk in one language. We bring them picking at skin them for relinquish power. So on behalf of I Am Every Woman movement for the great job we do as a sitting chair at the moment, I want to appreciate all the speakers, all the efforts, all the membership, everything we don't do, that the conversation still continue. We're still on. And we will continue for raise with voice as women from the diaspora here based in Sierra Leone and Saudi, we will continue for stand and be the place of the woman and the girls. We want for prevent, we want for respond to, we want for speak out, we want for collect the information and see if we will able to tackle the situations where they around in our communities, in our household, and every Saudi in our place that we will able to prevent and be the voice. Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope we will continue the conversation.
Thank you very much. Indeed, fumble them. Now the word this. You know, in this menace, this thing where we deal with within society, we cannot afford to be bystanders. At no point in time can we afford to be bystanders. We have to be participators. We have to be contributors. We have to be collaborators. It is important. Funding is important. Just like where Daika say, with the non-governmental organizations then, please look for where your funding goes. I know when you come in, you have your agenda, you have your policy plan laid out, your, core funding, your basket funding, your multilateral fundings and whatnot. I am in the business, so I can speak the same language as you. But please, when it comes to addressing certain issues, you have the power to shift from your core priorities and address your cross-cutting priorities. And I know say violence, gender-based violence against women for many are cross-cutting priorities. But I know that in your implementation, you can shift the language to make it your core funding priorities. Look for organizations then within your local operations or international operations, as you will call it. Seek those organizations that are doing the work. Fund them. Funding, very important. Because with funding, then you get a response. Then you get them to implement and to act. And when they implement and act, guess what? Then you get prevention. Funding, you respond and then you prevent. And then the collection of data go inform the gains then where they don't make and areas them where gaps then they. And that in turn go inform sound policies. And that in turn go inform program initiative, targeted program initiative. So again, I say fund indeed. The funding enable response. The response triggers prevention. Prevention enables you to collect data that then informs your policy and program strategies. The data informs the gains you have made and the gaps that are remaining. So, me family, even as we go along, I tell una thank you for what una all join with today. One thing I'm going to leave you with tonight or this afternoon or tonight or morning, wherever you are in the world, I'm going to say, listen, be open to learning from the experiences of others. I'm going to say, believe. Support survivors and those affected by violence and share support resources and information about available services. I'm going to say, speak out. Speak out. Make a personal commitment to speak out and not condone or accept violence. I'm going to say, intervene. Find a safe way to help when you see acts of gender-based violence. And lastly, I'm going to say act. Give your time to organizations working to end violence. A forensic lab is desperately needed in Sierra Leone. These organizations that are seated here today, their representation, a home office is desperately needed in all provinces of Sierra Leone. And even going forward into the interlands of these provinces. The work does not start in Freetown, and the work doesn't end in Freetown. The work is all across Sierra Leone. The green, white, and blue as we see it. The green, white, and blue does not end in Freetown. The green, white, and blue represents the totality of Sierra Leone. And that includes every provinces, every urban area, every woman, every child, every girl, every male. The education is important. Today I take a pause and I say, may justice be given to baby Khadija, and may justice be given to each and every victim of sexual and gender-based abuse in Sierra Leone, regardless of the gender. May each and every one of them get the justice that they so are deserving of. And may we keep the fights going. May we keep the candle burning. Tomorrow from 6 to 7 p.m. London time, there will be a candlelight vigil for baby Khadija. I will be there. I hope you will be there too. Log into Congolese Saka, the father of Khadija, little Khadija, in Facebook. It go the stream and live. Log into Auntie Sharifa in page. Insef go the stream and live. And absolutely myself being there, you will definitely see it on my page. Until then, may God bless we all. I want to tell me panelists them Boku Tenki, Beryl, I want to tell you Tenki, I want to tell Deaka Tenki, I want to tell Ebu Tenki, I want to tell Madam Anita Tenki. Last but not least, and absolutely, I want to tell Mr. Daniel, even though he had to leave us early, he gave us some really good meat to chew on. Let us chew on those meat. And let us keep on the 16 days of activism, and let us keep it going. It doesn't end today. It doesn't end on December 10th. It continues until every single life is safe and guaranteed within their nation, until every woman feels say, Ingo waka, wake waka, 3 o'clock morning, and go any side without fear, until every girl pikin, where because of economical disparities, go wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning for go get water, and she will not be attacked. I tell Una all thank you. I tell the I Am Every Woman movement thank you for giving me the opportunity to host this program today. And even as we move forward in strength, unity, collaboration, and peace, may we all achieve equality for all. I thank Una very much.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Matilda. God bless you.